Welcome into another Q&A, Questions in Alcohol, where we talk about all things in the alcohol world here in Kentucky and beyond, whether it is the actual drinks, the food, or art. And I guess we can say it's a little bit of everything on this one that we'll be having with you. Remember, you can follow us at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and we're also on YouTube and at hopspirits.com. And like I said, we're here for a Q&A with the Inebriated Baker. And we're welcoming owner, founder, Danielle Rowell. Danielle, welcome in.
Hi, Jonathan. Thanks so much for having me. I'll tell you something. You were thanking me before, but we went to tape. But I got to tell you, I love talking about alcohol. So anytime that I could talk about alcohol, be it day, night, in the middle, you just give me a call. I'm ready to do it.
Might have to take you up on that. Might have to stop by your storefront and just chat a little bit on the weekends.
Absolutely. And plus, I have free samples. Ooh. So I give you a little nippity doo dah day, as long as you're over 21 with photo ID, of course, and you look like a young fellow. So
I am over 21, well over 21 nowadays. Although it does make me feel really good when I get carded. That makes me feel really good. I totally understand that.
Me too. They don't even card me anymore. They're like, no problem, ma'am. I'm like, don't. I have that Homer Simpson moment. Like, oh man, and that drives me to drink more. It's a vicious cycle, I tell you.
It really is. And the worst is like when you're at Kroger or somewhere at the store and they just put in a number. You're like, no, that's way older, way too old. I know that's what you're doing, but that's way too old. It just hits you. And then you got to have something like, maybe a boozy cupcake or a boozy, make yourself feel better. And that's what
it's
we're
part
here
of a wellness program and for both the mind and the body, I tell you.
Exactly. And now we're here to talk about you have kind of two different things. You have the Inebriated Baker, and then you have the Inebriated Chef, and we'll get into those here in a little bit, but tell us a little about yourself and just kind of what, a little bit of background, maybe the Cliff Notes version.
Sure. Well, I'm a recovering academic, as I like to say, which is probably what brought me to alcohol to begin with. But I was doing that for 20 some odd years, and then the pandemic hit and I had to reassess my life. And I said, you know what? I had this idea for that I've been working on for years and years and years. It took me 10 years to develop the recipes to Inebriated Baker. A lot of magic and witchcraft goes into it, as I like to tell people. I said, you know what? If it's now or never. So I took a chance on myself and I gave myself a few years to try to get this up and running and to try to take over the world with alcoholism and diabetes. And that is my Miss America moment there. That's what I want to do with my life. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But that's the goal. That's the dream.
Well, and I was gonna say, so I mean, so you've been working on, I guess, what has now become Inebriated Baker then for quite a while. Is that correct?
Yeah. It took over 10 years to develop the recipes because I guarantee a full shot of booze in my jumbo cupcakes, half a shot in my standards, quarter shot in my minis. And then you get that moonshine cherry on top, which has been soaking for 8 months. So the magic is truly on the inside. So all your cupcakes, when you would get them from other places, they're all different on the outside. All my magic takes place on the inside. So what I do is I take your favorite cocktail and I reimagine it as a cupcake you can eat on the go. Margarita, mimosa, Long Island, iced tea, sex on the beach. So I used to be a bartender for years, clearly. I spent a lot of time behind the bar, underneath the bar, et cetera, et cetera. So on, I don't need to, I don't want to let all my secrets out of the bag. Girls got to keep some secrets.
Exactly.
But yeah, so the cupcakes are actually, I don't just add alcohol, call it a day, upcharge you, blah, 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 like most of these other people do. What I do is I actually recreate your favorite cocktail from soup to nuts and everything in between. So it's actually, you're biting into that cocktail, you're actually eating that cocktail. Mint julep's going to taste just like a mint julep. Yeah.
That is awesome. And like when you were coming up with this idea to kind of go this route and this type of thing, I mean, was it one of those nights you had a little too much fun, or was it, or was it just a mixture, or is it a mixture of two things? You love to bake, you love to make mixed drinks, and then you're like, you know what? How can I do them together?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a little bit of both. So, all my great ideas come from some sort of inebriation, a degree therein. Hello. I mean, there's a reason why this is the logo. This is me sober, and then that's me 3 sheets to the wind, as I like to say. That's why when I go out to drink, nobody knows who I am. You see, because I have these eyes going on in the full on bleeder. That's the truth. But if I'm being honest, it's probably a little bit of that. And also, it was after graduate school. I already had so much money in my pocket. Truth be told, hand to God, and I was not spending another $25 on alcohol and dessert, and I wanted both. Because I finally had a little money in my pocket. I was feeling fancy schmancy. And so I put them together. So it's really a twofer. So if it's both, so it's 2 for 1, and that means also half the calories in point.
I like how you think. Smart.
SMRT. That's how smart I am.
And that's that academic side, right? You're putting that to good use.
A little bit. And a little this, a little this. Listen,
and that's how. And then for those that are watching the video and maybe not just listening on the podcast, you can see Cletus in the background of her screen. Can you tell a little bit about the fun backstory to Cletus, who's on the logo? Can you kind of explain that? Because I think you had a little bit of fun with that.
Yeah, so this is an Inebriated Baker. You know he's a baker because when it says baker on the bottom there, but he also has a cupcake on it. Now I have also the same logo with a different to it. It's that chef on the bottom, and that's a steak in his hand. And my Inebriated Chef spinoff brand does my boozy cheese spreads, 5% ABV. Knock a square on your ass. They're fantastic. Well, I mean tuchus. That's what I mean. And also I do sauces. So that's what's coming out in the background. And my baker handles all of my desserts. I'm going to have so many other desserts besides cupcakes coming out. Cupcakes are just a starter. I do wedding cakes now. I do layer cakes. I do sheet cakes. And now I do boozy gummies. So you can invite truly anywhere you want now. It's going to be a little of an epidemic, I hope. But anyway, a good epidemic. So this is Cletus, and his brother is Remus. And his backstory is that I met him, because I'm from New York, as you can tell from my accent. Coffee, water, quarter stairs. You're welcome. I'm clearly not from Kentucky, but I am Kentucky by association. My husband is born and raised in Kentucky, Carrollton, Kentucky, and that's why I'm here. And I've been here since 2012. So I consider myself a Kentuckian now. But you can always tell from my accent, always gives me away. And I met Cletus by hiking in Appalachia, which is actually where I also met my husband. And so he taught me the ways of the alcohol magic and witchcraft, as it were, in order to get all that booze stuffed in that cupcake. It's fantastic. Fantastic. I owe it all to him. I owe it all to Mr. Cletus right there. He gets a cut of everything.
I was going to say,
like
but does he know why he's getting the cut? Does he know why he's getting the cut? I feel like he just could be, out there in the world.
Yeah, he knows. That's how he can travel the world and climb, Everest and Kilimanjaro. He's out spreading the word of and the gospel, as it were, quote unquote, low G, of the booze.
I love
being the boozy baker.
I love it. And when I think about baking with booze, I mean that's not an uncommon thing. You can put a little bit in cakes, things like that. But a lot of times it bakes out or it bakes. It's not really that type of thing. So, how difficult is it to bake and use booze in things like this? Because I'm guessing it's not as simple as one might think.
No, candy making, everything else, it really requires a lot of mathematical computations and a lot of really science behind it. There's a lot of science behind it because you're altering the way that baking works, or candy making works, or crystallization of sugar works, so on and so forth. So it does take quite a bit of finagling, and that's the whole magic and witchcraft behind it all. So
I was gonna say, how long did it take you to kind of I'm guessing, I know you worked on, it was a 10-year period, but I'm guessing you weren't doing it every single day.
No.
But I mean, like when you're trying a new recipe, does it take multiple? Now I'm sure you're a little better than you were at the beginning and you have a better starting point, but obviously anytime you're mixing yeasts and grains and different things, different alcohols will do different things to it because they're coming kind of from the same things. So, how is that trial and error process for you?
It can be very trying. I just had an issue now. I was working on it. It took about 6 batches to get it right. A gentleman wanted a certain kind of cocktail as a gummy bear, and it was such a high test kind of drink with different other variables involved that I had to really. It took six or so test batches to actually get it right. So sometimes it's a little bit harder than others. It just depends on what the client wants. But I've gotten nailed down now to an extent where I can kind of roll with it, and I can see the computations relatively easier now. But when it comes to new product lines, which I'm launching and always launching, I'd rather do the test runs early, so I don't run into a problem later. So I'd rather make as many batches as it takes to get it right to where I like it than to move forward. And that's the case with the cheeses, for example. The cheeses take quite a bit of time just to get right then on their own. But then when I was test kitching them, I kept, do you like this? Do I like this? I gave it to a taste panel, and I'm still tweaking them as we go along for different tastes and feedback that comes along. So it's always an ongoing process, I think, particularly when you're dealing with the food science. And
that's what I think a lot of people don't always realize. We talk a lot of booze on this podcast, and there's so much science that goes into it. And the same is baking, especially when you're mixing the two. There is, like you said, a lot of math, a lot of science. And because of how you do it, there's, I think, more science than how some of the other folks do it. How do your edible cocktails differ from Cupcakes food that might just have quote unquote booze injected to them, or maybe just on top in the cream or something like that?
Well, when you put them on top, there's just a couple tablespoons, if that, and then if you inject it, those little pipettes that you use, that's about not even a tenth of a shot. So my jumbos, I guarantee a full shot of booze. That's an ounce. My standards, that's a half a shot of booze guaranteed. You feel it, trust me. I've had a quarter shot in my standard minis, and people go, "Oh yeah, I've got big bikers coming up. I love it, coming up, rolling up. I don't believe you." I said, "No problem, sir. Let me give you a sample. I'll give you a sample." And they're like, "I love that. I love that. I love when that little stifled cough." I said, and I said, "What do you think?" They go, "That's good." I'm like, "Thank you." That's me for a reason. I tell you what, I've been drinking a long time. I'm a pro. And I come from a long line of derelicts. We all drink. The whole family drinks. So yeah, what are you going to do?
And that's how you got along with Cletus so well. That's how you got along with Cletus so well.
It comes to a point, dear, I'm in my mid-40s now. So it comes to a point where you just have to accept the bad genetics you have that life has dealt you and monetize them and move on. You just got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying?
There's nothing wrong with that, and that's why you have an edible cocktail. It helps you get through the day. Now,
that's right.
You talk about, like, when people think about the injectable, like putting stuff in there, usually you don't have to worry about too much if you're selling those, because it's not really you're not getting into some gray areas with how things go per se. Now with yours, as you mentioned, if you want to sample, you got to be 21 and older. I'm guessing that makes things a little more difficult for you. And I'm guessing you either have to have a few more licenses or different things so you can actually do these kind of things. So what other, I was gonna say, what kind of obstacles do you kind of face that others might not, because of what you're doing and providing that full shot, that half shot, that quarter shot, and something?
Well, yeah, the licensing here is fine. You just had to go to the step of getting, so you go through that hurdle, no big deal. So I don't know if that's necessarily an obstacle or not, but I do want to reiterate a point that you must be over 21 to buy, purchase, and consume these. I do check photo IDs, and when I ship them nationwide, because I do ship nationwide in beautiful glass jars, you send me your photo ID, and it's verified at the time of delivery. So there's multiple checks along the way. I'm not messing around here. Yeah. So if I'm going to go down for something big, it's not going to be for that. You know what I'm saying? My dad always said, he used to go away, we'd leave myself and my brother alone. We used to, people, the friends used to have parties. We never had a party. We had no friends. What are you going to do? We didn't have any parties. But he'd be like, if you're going to go to jail, don't embarrass me. You better go for something good. You better go for something big. Okay.
Not just shipping out a cupcake.
That's the kind of genetics I'm from. There you go.
So also, I think about this, obviously, when you're cooking in kitchen and all that, do you have kind of a place that you call your own now that you bake from, or do you still kind of work at kind of one of the kitchens that allows you to kind of come in when you need to? How does that work for you these days?
Yeah, so my shop is located at 101 West Loudoun Avenue here in Lexington, and that's inside the Gray Line Station building, right across from Social Vegan. By the way, all my cupcakes are vegan, so there you go too. And I do gluten-free, sugar-free, and all that other great stuff by special request. But yeah, that's a certified kitchen. So it's been with the health department. I'm certified commercial kitchen. And between you and me, Jonathan, you want to hear a secret? Here's a secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell.
I'll do my best.
There's going to be a second location. There's a second location soon.
I like it.
Very soon.
I was going to say, having that storefront now, and having that chance to kind of interact with folks and have everything in one place. How has that been? Because I'm guessing that had to be a big change for you.
Well, I absolutely love it. As you can see, I'm a ham. I love shooting the proverbial stuff, as it were, with people. And I have a lot of extra energy that my husband says, you need to go out into the world. And I don't want any more of that after the pandemic. You need to go and give that to other people now. You got to go to work, girl. You got to go. So I'm constantly getting kicked out of the house. But yeah, I'm a people person. I always have been, always into sales. And clear as I was a professor for many years and did sales for many, many years. I was bartending and waitressing and all other great stuff. So I just love shooting the proverbial stuff with people. And we get a lot of travelers here through Kentucky, which is fantastic for all the natural beauty that we have, for the concerts, for Keeneland, for the races, for Derby Day, et cetera, so on and so forth. So I get to meet so many people and I'm having a great time. And they keep in contact too. So I was just talking to somebody in Tennessee who's like, hey, can you do a graduation party for me? Can you ship the stuff out to me? I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. So I'm super excited. Like, yeah, I met you. My family and I met during a cheer competition and we think you're hilarious. And then they invited me to the party too. So that's pretty cool.
You make an impression.
I'm always down for a party. I'm down to clown, as it were. I'm down for a party.
I love it. You make an impression, whether it's yourself or what you have. And like you said, what you have is not just, you see the cupcake on the screen, but you've now branched out beyond that. You said you've got the cheese, the boozy cheeses, from the chef's side and a few other things coming that way. So what all, I guess, do you have? And I'm guessing they're all boozy, correct?
Oh, yeah. Well, I do boozy and non-alcoholic. You can get anything that I have on my menu non-alcoholic, because I do respect the fact that, one, I do a lot of children's parties, believe it or not, for both the adults and the children. So half children, half adult stuff. But number two, I also respect very much those who are in recovery. So we don't mess around with that. And I certainly don't mess around with that. So I have non-alcoholic versions. You can always have a non-alcoholic version, both if you want to order online through my store, inebriatedbaker.com, or call me at 859-823-LUSH, LUSH. That's 5874. And yes, that is my number. And yes, I answer it 7 days a week. So you can come into my store. You can do shipping nationwide. But I have boozy, non-boozy. Everything is vegan. It could be non-vegan. I have gluten-free. I have sugar-free. Let's see. I have the gummies. Vegan, non-vegan. I have the boozy gummies or non-boozy, your choice, but they're fantastic either which way. Let's see, I have the dessert bars. I do wedding cakes. I do layered cakes. I have a bunch of other little dessert menus coming down the pike here, but we have the boozy cheese spreads and other things that are coming down the pike. I'm trying to create an empire, a boozy empire.
I love
Only the queen of booze.
Hey, there's worse things you could be the queen of.
There's worse things I have been, and I've been called, not for nothing.
but I mean, like, even that, like getting that 5% ABV in a cheese spread. I mean, that's impressive. And like, what kind of? Well, I guess not what made you want to do that. If you've listened so far, you understand. But I mean, like, having something like that, I mean, what does it do to the taste, and just kind of how does that work with a 5% boozy cheese spread?
Yeah, it's not just about pouring booze and calling it a day. I mean, you have to worry about texture. You have to worry about shelf life. You have to worry about liquidity and solidity. You got to worry about how the flavors mesh together. So if anything else, I think I have a nice palate for that. For distinguishing what flavor profiles need to be there. And if not, I have a gazillion taste testers out there that come through the store that are happy to taste and let me know, which I am very appreciative of. And I do take that feedback very, very seriously. And I do incorporate it into changes into the recipes. I really do. And I've been doing that since day one. So keep them coming, y'all. I appreciate it.
Well, and that's where I guess that storefront comes in handy too. Because I remember I was talking to Old Smoky Moonshine down in Tennessee. And they said, we have the best way to taste a new product. Other people, you got to do it. You can just put a small batch out. 5 million now down there in Gatlinburg, 5 million people go through there, and you can taste test it, figure out if it's going to work or not. And sometimes you're surprised. I mean, I'm guessing that feedback though has to be just satisfying, because one, you might be shocked if something pops off that you weren't expecting, or two, you go, oh, okay, I got to go back and tinker a little bit and maybe get it a little bit better, especially if you get similar feedback consistently.
Yeah, and I've taken an item or two off the menu to retool it and to rework it. One of those being the gummies. So they were taken off the menu and I retooled the recipe, and now it worked from that feedback. So I'm excited about that. I absolutely love it. And I love Old Smoky too. Love them. How I met my husband. It's Old Smoky. There you go. See, this is all coming together. All these little bits and pieces are coming to create the true picture of me, which is that. That's truly me. This is my avatar. This right here is the avatar. That's truly me.
I love that. And, it's always interesting, too, because I think one of the ones down there that really popped off was their pickle that they never imagined, their pickle flavored moonshine. But they're like, it's sold out like way too quick for us not to, make it a thing.
We do a moonshine pickle cheese. So there you go.
Awesome.
It does. It works. It's weird, but it works, man. I'm telling you.
Hey, I think I also read down in Texas, like 2 of their top selling beers statewide are pickle flavored. So, I mean, hey, it's a thing. It's a thing. Nothing wrong with that. Now, I also know, we're getting into summertime. The weather is kind of finally opening up and events are happening more, and we're kind of getting back more quote unquote normal as well. I'm guessing since you like to be out and about and like to see people, do you get to go out and go to events and things like that? And how does that, I guess, differ a little bit too from maybe the storefront?
I am booked solid for the summer. I'm doing Crave again. I'm doing the Winchester Beer Cheese Festival. I'm very proud to be a part of the God's Pantry annual fundraising event in Keeneland. That was rescheduled from 2 years ago that I was a part of, but now I'm finally getting to go. And that's right here in May 13th, I want to say. Please see your tickets for that. God's Pantry, of course. That's a fantastic organization in Lexington. Please, please, please donate to them. They feed those in need all over the state and beyond. It's a really fantastic organization. What else am I going to? I'm going to the Vegan Festival in Louisville. There's another Vegan Festival in Lexington. I'm going everywhere. I got vegan festivals, I got music events, I got parties, but I'm trying to get into Rail Fest. So, hey, knock, 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 Rail Fest. Donnie wants to come play. Give me a call.
There you go. Now, and like I said, when you go to those types of events, does that differ from kind of the storefront where you're allowed to have all the booziness and all that with the IDs, or are you allowed to do those out and about too?
No, we can do those as well. It's with, after we talk, after I talk with the event owners and everything and licensing, we have to show licensing and everything else. It's all about licensing and talking and having respect for those organizers and the group organizers. So that's something that we discuss. And then I have my menu and then we discuss that and then I go ahead and do it. I think the only complication with me doing it is that my food truck is not ready yet. So I'm still trying to work on that. So I do everything by tent. So everything is by table and tent. And as you can see, I'm not a very, well, maybe you can't see, I'm hiding. I'm very strategic hiding. I'm just showing my face around. Hello. But I got to tell you, I need a crew and I am hiring for this. So please give me a call at 859-823-LUSH5874 or email me at Danielle, DANIELLE at inebriatedbaker.com. I'm hiring for events. Because I have to do the tables and the tent and that gets very, I'm just crippled for days after that.
I was going to say, it's a lot of work to get a nice setup. Yeah, it's a lot of work to get a nice setup, especially when you're at big events that have a lot of people going through. So you got to have a big setup.
Oh, I love them though. I get to chit chat and just shoot the proverbial stuff with everybody. Yeah, that's my bread and butter. I mean, I love it. I love it.
Well, and that's how I believe I heard of you the first time was last year at Crave. My wife was like, you got to go stop at her booth. Cause usually she works one day at the ticketing booth or something like that, volunteering, and then, goes out and checks things out. And then, I'll come over later with my daughter and our daughter and we'll, check things out. And she was like, we got to stop by here. I got to check it out. And so, so like I said, I've been waiting to have a time to chat with you. So I appreciate this. And I guess my last question is you've teased it a little bit, that there's a secret that we're not going to tell anyone. That if you're paying attention earlier, but what's kind of next for you? Because obviously, you're talking about having kind of expanding the empire, the edible cocktail empire and so forth. And then just, I guess, maybe what can folks expect for you from the rest of 2022? Well,
I'm expanding out to a second store. That location is going to be under wraps here for a bit, but I do have another store lined up. And it's been contracted out and ready to go. So I'm just got to kind of build that all up. I'm at every single major festival coming up here. And again, if you have any questions, I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well, where I post all my information. And that's Inebriated Baker Certified Lush. I know it's very long, it's terrible, but just look for this guy right here. Look for my Cletus, and that's where you'll find me on that. So I'm at the festivals. I'm having a store and a second storefront going up. And I'm expanding the product lines. And then I'm just super excited just to go out, be out and about and to talk to people and just have fun. I mean, if anything else, I mean, the Inebriated Baker is really the empire, as it were, the empire, as it were. The core driving strategic values are twofold. One is community involvement, community giving back. I'm very much involved in all these community activities that I don't advertise, and I'm not going to even advertise here. But there's tons of ways that I give back, and I do all these sorts of things. And two, it's also about just having a good time, living your day by day, having a good time, recognizing that, hey, you know what? And I think this is more pertinent now than ever, or salient more now than ever. Just in moderation, just do you. Yeah. And always consume in moderation. We have as much fun as I like to have with boozy this and boozy that. This is a very respectful organization as well. You want non-alcoholic, you will have non-alcoholic. I don't mess around with that, not for a nanosecond. Nothing gets to children, not for a nanosecond. And above all else, if you have allergies, you come see me. I will make anything you want. And I'll personalize a menu for you. It's all about, being happy and celebrating life and being back with our families and being back with our friends. And just, it's like cling. It's kind of like that Italian way of, ching ching. Is that be a part of life. Be part of life. Live in the day. Live in the moment.
I love it. There's a thing I always like to say, because you see this a lot in the booze world, oh, you can't do it that way. You can't do it that way. Drink it how you like it with who you like it. And in this case, enjoy it how you like it with who you like it. So
just
any way you want
I'll
it. I love that philosophy. And Danielle, I appreciate you taking the time, and I can't wait to see you out and about at events.
When you come and buy for a sample?
Soon.
When you come and buy the shop? Soon, I hope so. Remember, I have non-alcoholic for your daughter's home. It's not
for very, very soon. And I appreciate this, and this was a blast.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you. Tell my love, my love. Tell your wife, thank you. I love her.